A humble remonstrance. We have recently enjoyed a quite peculiar pleasure, hearing in some detail the opinions about the art they practice of Mr. Walter Besant and Mr. Henry James. Two men certainly of very different calibre. Mr. James, so precise of outline, so cunning of fence, so scrupulous of finish, and Mr. Besant, so genial, so friendly, with so persuasive and humorous a vein of whim. Mr. James, the very type of the deliberate artist, Mr. Besant, the impersonation of good nature. That such doctors should differ will excite no great surprise. But one point in which they seem to agree fills me, I confess, with wonder. For they are both content to talk about the art of fiction. And Mr. Besant, waxing exceedingly bold, goes on to oppose this so-called art of fiction to the art of poetry. By the art of poetry he can mean nothing but the art of verse, an art of handicraft, and only comparable with the art of prose. For that heat and height of sane emotion, which we agree to call by the name of poetry, is but a libertine and vagrant quality, present at times in any art, more often absent from them all, too seldom present in the prose novel, too frequently absent from the ode and epic. Fiction is in the same case. It is no substantive art, but an element which enters largely into all the arts but architecture. Homer, Wordsworth, Phidias, Hogarth, and Salvini all deal in fiction. And yet I do not suppose that either Hogarth or Salvini, to mention but these two, entered in any degree into the scope of Mr. Besant's interesting lecture or Mr. James's charming essay. The art of fiction, then, regarded as a definition, is both too ample and too scanty. Let me suggest another. Let me suggest that what both Mr. James and Mr. Besant had in view was neither more nor less than the art of narrative. But Mr. Besant is anxious to speak solely of the modern English novel, the stay and breadwinner of Mr. Mudie, and in the author of the most pleasing novel on that roll, All Sorts and Conditions of Men, the desire is natural enough. I can conceive, then, that he would hasten to propose two additions, and read thus: The art of fictitious narrative in prose. Now, the fact of the existence of the modern English novel is not to be denied. Materially, with its 3 volumes, leaded type and gilded lettering, it is easily distinguishable from other forms of literature. But to talk at all fruitfully of any branch of art, it is needful to build our definitions on some more fundamental ground than binding. Why, then, are we to add in prose? The Odyssey appears to me the best of romances, The Lady of the Lake to stand high in the second order, and Chaucer's tales and prologues to contain more of the matter and art of the modern English novel than the whole treasury of Mr. Murdy. Whether a narrative be written in blank verse or the Spenserian stanza, in the long period of Gibbon or the chipped phrase of Charles Reade, the principles of the art of narrative must be equally observed. The choice of a noble and swelling style in prose affects the problem of narration in the same way, if not to the same degree, as the choice of measured verse. For both imply a closer synthesis of events, a higher key of dialogue, and a more picked and stately strain of words. If you are to refuse Don Juan, it is hard to see why you should include Zanoni, or, to bracket works of very different value, The Scarlet Letter, And by what discrimination are you to open your doors to the Pilgrim's Progress,